We're live at Kypreos. Justin Bourne, Sam McKee, Derek Brandale, and David Sisboomba with you for the next 2 hours. We'll start off this hour on the Leaf edition at Sportsnet 590, Sportsnet 360, and Sportsnet Plus from 4 to 6 p.m. If you don't catch us live, download us at any time after dinner.
Yeah.
Walking the dog.
That's a great time.
Okay. Going for a stroll with your wife is a good time to download us
And listen to it
and
on
listen to our
Airbuds.
show.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Just
She'll love
hold her hand. It'll be enough. Trust me.
And listen to Kip and I yell at each other about sports.
That's it. So we sit and wait.
Is there a Leafs hour still?
It is the Leaf Hour.
We're still doing it?
We are still doing it.
Okay.
Are you okay with that?
Is there anything else to say? Or
Is there anything else to say, Sammy, about the Leaf season? Is there anything going on with the Leafs?
Okay, you want to know what's going on in my brain?
Oh, God.
There's a lot, first of all. But hockey-wise, we'll just stick hockey-wise.
Kazoos and ping pong balls?
Yeah. I watched the Boston Bruins play the Florida Panthers last night. And I was like, are the Leafs elite defensively?
Oh, no.
I'm like, I thought the Panthers.
Oh, no.
I'm like, maybe they shouldn't fire Sheldon Keefe. What is going on? I'm all twisted up, boys.
When you're wired like we are to present an hour show daily.
Everything is content. Chris
Right?
for the mill, as Jeff Merrick says.
And then you go to last night and you're watching, but you're not watching like you're watching to prepare for an hour show on the Boston Bruins and the Florida
it's
Panthers.
what does this say about the Maple Leafs? What does this moment say?
So I was on at an establishment I was at after baseball last night, so I had it on. I didn't watch as closely. And then it was on my in-house feed here today when I got into the office. Saw it from the start, watched the whole game over again. So I watched it twice, if you can believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, well, the Leafs did a better job of limiting them defensively. Maybe Sheldon Keefe's systems are actually better than we once thought, and maybe we should run it back.
Oh, my God. It took 18 hours or something. for you to get
Twist
there.
it up, boys. I don't know what to think.
All right, we're pretty much 24 hours past Sheldon's comments yesterday, meeting the media, player availability. We heard some. Yes, we talked about everything from Mitch Marner's "We are God's" comment.
Did you see, we talk about the Toronto Sun. Did you see the Toronto Sun cover?
No, I
No.
didn't.
Oh,
I
my
not.
God. You guys did it?
No.
Oh, it was so good. It was OMG, and it had him reaching out with a hockey glove and the other finger.
Oh, doing the Sistine Chapel.
Yeah, it's really good. Really good.
Totally,
I mean, that's as good as it gets.
totally taken right out of it. Like, just run with it, right?
yes.
Just run with
Buddy,
it. Run
we're
not
wherever you
the
want.
It's Toronto Sports
Sun.
Media,
Hey.
buddy. We got to run.
It's been a hell of a playoff run for the cover of the Toronto Sun.
They've been hot.
You know,
They've been hot.
Really, MVPs.
Yeah,
Right?
they've been hot.
Yeah.
Maybe
For sure.
MVP.
The only people that come out ahead.
So between that and what we heard from yesterday, any afterthoughts or Morgan Riley's comments we didn't really talk about I thought Morgan was great yesterday too.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, come on, am I really going to do this? Am I going to tell you how close I think we are?
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Or
played that one
he was-
yesterday.
yeah. You know, I mean, just listening to it again over and over again, I think he had the perfect, like, we don't know how close we are. We can't get out of the first round. How can I sit here and tell you how close we are?
So you don't think the
Had
captain?
someone tell me he's hurt.
So you don't think the captain coming out and saying we're right there was the right thing to say?
Listen, John's
A robot?
different.
He's a
yes,
robot.
he's
Yeah.
programmed differently. It's like if you were to build a hockey player, you know, you'd have those sound bites programmed in.
Yes. It's
He
Woody in Toy Story.
He doesn't leave. He doesn't.
There's a snake in my boots.
He does not get out of his lane.
We're
Right.
right there.
It's like, you know, his favorite word to use in his post game comments is obviously, because it's obviously is safe to him. You can't get in trouble using the word obviously because I know it, you know it, everybody knows it.
I think you just said something important, whether you knew it or not. Safe. Everything about this organization, the players, the comfort, it's all safe.
Obviously, it's a tremendous honor.
Nylander says, we believe that, this core four can do it. We believe that, we're good. John says we're right there. They just keep everything the same. We're all comfortable. We all have our spots. We're all gods here. We're all comfortable. And maybe it should be a little less safe.
Well, and that's where we're going to get to this Friday, where MLSE President and CEO Keith Pelly, Maple Leaf President and alternate Governor Brendan Shanahan, and Maple Leaf General Manager Brad Treliving will be together, available at the Ford Performance Center Friday at 10:30 a.m. And there's not a snowball's chance in hell they're going to come out and be that safe guy anymore, or that safe organization anymore. It just, that won't fly Friday, JB.
Obviously,
It won't fly. I don't know if that means that they won't do it. The one thing I'm growing more convinced of, I'm not convinced that it's the end of the line for Shanahan, right? They've announced him now for Friday to be there alongside Keith Pelly.
Oh, he's not going anywhere.
Shanny?
Yeah.
Okay.
To
I would say
JB's
that's
point,
news. If that's
JB's point.
Yeah.
How do you present him Saturday?
Yeah.
I 100% expect Brad Treliving and Brendan Shanahan and Keith Pelly to be all aligned on the message Friday.
What do you make of the move of the press conference? Is there anything newsy to you there? Is there anything interesting? Like, because it was announced that it was going to be just management. There was no names involved, and they announced it for Thursday. And then yesterday, they tweet out from their super secret media account that I could follow that it's going to be on Friday, and they named everybody. Yeah. So for them to switch a press conference, are they looking for the Friday news dump? They're going to do it at 5:30 p.m. on a Friday or something? It's very interesting they moved it.
Listen, whether somebody's got a dentist appointment or they're shopping for a coach, it buys them time.
It buys them time. Buys them time to gather facts, come up with a message, get a sense for the market, let things cool down a breath.
Time.
Because that's when the three of them say, we understand it's not good enough. We understand it's a results-based business. That's why we're moving on from the coach today. And that's why we're going to continue to, all options are open, in terms of players. No one is safe.
Well, I think we're going to hear the word disappointment a lot. We're going to hear the word patience, or we're running out of patience. But that patient word will be used, I think,
results has to come up
on Friday. Unacceptable will be used. And then we're going to hear that there's lots of positives, right? We're going to hear Matthew Knives' positivity. We'll hear Easton Cowan, Minton. We'll hear those. We got some names coming up. We're not going to be
at this press conference you're creating right now.
No.
Yes, they are.
Well, listen. Okay, yeah, they are. But
you talking like you doing like your little pretend press conference over there? I'm just starting to steam. I'm like, I'm not ready for this. Can they do it next Friday? Right? Can they push this to Friday of the long weekend where I can just be like, I'm out of here?
I'm just trying to prepare you guys a little bit here. That's all.
I don't think.
And hey, who knows? By then, maybe Thursday they fire Sheldon, and Friday they announce Craig Berube. I don't know. I think I don't know how much time there is for that, but I don't get the sense for that a Keith Pelly right now is sitting there going, well, we got to give him something by Friday. I think it's going to be a low event kind of Friday. I don't think he feels pressure to make Sammy feel better by firing anybody.
Do you think Shanahan, with having one season left on his contract, would be, if you're not getting rid of him, then are you keeping him longer, or
right now I get
walk him to UFA?
Right now I get a sense that it's a non-issue.
Yeah.
Brendan's contract status is not an issue.
Obviously, he knows where the bodies are buried and everything that's happened the last decade. So I'm sure he's a great resource still to Keith Pelly, and to cut that off without having him around for a while is probably not great.
Well,
so
I think, Brendan Shanahan is an incredibly impressive guy.
For sure.
And
I totally agree.
You're around him, and I went to a Sportsnet Cup thing in the middle of the season, and you don't really hear him talk a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
And then we were there with a bunch of different clients from all the different Sportsnet stuff. And he came in and he talked to everybody for 25 minutes, took answered questions. And
he did this at an Ivy Sports Conference too. He's great.
And you just hear him talk about hockey.
Yeah.
And if you're Keith Pelly, you're like, oh my God, you get why you'd want to stick with it. He's an impressive guy. It's Brandon Shanahan. He's got over 600 goals, cups, Hall of Famer, unbelievable.
The only thing you have against him is they haven't won. Otherwise,
Exactly.
it's been a well-run organization that makes the playoffs.
One round win.
Yeah,
that's
which
it.
is pretty
10.
which is pretty important.
And so it is.
It's still hard to kind of talk your way out of that too.
It is, but the president, I don't think of as being as responsible for the product as I do general managers. Until recently, presidents didn't seem to have anything to do with it.
Again, this goes into the conversations that Brendan's had with Keith Pelly. Like, hey, I entrusted Kyle Dubas.
Yeah.
He made those trades. I didn't, and I'm here left holding the bag. Maybe that makes me a wiser man moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know where those conversations are, where they begin and end on total accountability, and where things had Brendan Shanahan's fingerprints on them and where they didn't. So the one thing that we did talk about yesterday, at least I did, is that there's different scenarios for change that doesn't include Brendan Shanahan losing his job, meaning, i.e. a coach, meaning, i.e. a player personnel, right? Behind the scenes organizational status of, do we need new scouts? Do we need different visions for free agencies and all of that? So change can come in many forms. I think they're gonna mention that there will be changes, that we're out of patience.
That'll be important to emphasize,
right? And that may be enough. Now
that may be enough.
Listen, yeah,
that they say they're going to do it.
Enough. It may not be enough for you, Sandy.
Well, they're going to go political on this and make false promises and be like, "Yeah, we'll change the scouts," and it's like that's not running it back.
They won't finger point anything. They'll just say that we're making changes and this is unacceptable, and that has to be enough for you, Sammy, because that's the way it works. That's the politics of the game.
So I can't think. How much time are they working with the PR groups and everything to prepare for this press conference? Because I can't think. We did last year after the Leafs lost in the second round, where we got that electric Kyle Dubas press conference, and then
remember he wasn't even supposed to speak; he chose to.
And then he got fired, and then they had the Shanahan one, which was one of the most unbelievable press conferences I could ever remember doing in this business. It was amazing. But I can't think of a press conference that has more anticipation than this Friday. I know it's probably going to be a similar message, but heading into it, to let it rot for this long, you're letting us sit here. We're going to do, what day is it today? Tuesday? We're doing 3 more shows talking about a press conference. Everybody's writing, talking, podcast, everything.
And you're going to get an NPR level thrill ride of...
They don't care? But why don't they care, Kyper? Why don't they care what people think about them? That's the whole thing. I know I'm just a fan.
I'm not being that smug to say no one cares. It's just not... The priority is to look after the masks that are screaming at the top of their lungs. That's not the first thing. The first thing is to do is what is best for the organization. And that's Keith Pelly coming in. He officially took the job in April.
Yeah.
Okay. So now, do people really expect that he comes in April? And I know that he probably asked a lot of questions behind the scenes to prepare for this. But do you really expect him to have come in and said, well, if they lose in the first round, I'm firing this guy. Or if they get to a conference final, he gets to stay. Or if he wins the Stanley Cup, I give him a lifetime contract.
Mm-hmm.
So
you guys talk hockey with people. Hasn't the perception to you been that Pelly's coming in here to be the guy that the Grim Reaper kind of thing? That's the perception I get from fans. That's what people think about it.
So is Keith Pelly now going to let Brendan Shanahan go and not have a replacement for him? Or is the replacement that, to Elliott's point, you eliminate the president's job and you just keep it in the hands of Brad Treliving now?
I don't know. I don't know if I want that either, boys.
That's right. So if you're sitting there going, I don't want that either, and I don't have a replacement ready, then you do what they're doing now.
Yeah, you need to keep things running along smoothly while you're learning, while you're making decisions. It's, the brash fire a guy and then figure it out. That's probably not the right move. So I do think that he'll be around. And then I do think that means they know they have to do something, and that affects Sheldon. Now, Sheldon tonight is being honored for the Brampton Hall of Fame, I believe, which I could see them not wanting to fire him on the way to this ceremony for him. Like, I could see them hanging on there. Otherwise, what would you be waiting for if it were to happen?
You're waiting for his replacement to find the right replacement for him. And that's what's going on right now.
Yeah.
You're making calls. I do believe that there was some connection between the Leafs and Craig Berube this week.
Let me ask you.
They wouldn't be doing their homework if there was not.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
They may be in a race for a Craig Berube right now with the LA Kings.
Mm.
He's the biggest fish on the market right now, no doubt about it. Are we sure he's the right coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs?
No, that's a conversation all in itself.
I know it is.
Right?
That's what I'm trying to have.
But once you get by Craig Berube, you're left with Todd McClellan, Gerard Gallant, and then what? And are you convinced any of those names is better than Sheldon Keefe right now?
No.
Only
And who else?
guy.
Oh,
Right?
boy.
Are you
I'm
listening?
sure.
So I'm not
My run it back radar is.
right overheating. Right? I know your run back radar is blinking right now, but are you listening to what I'm saying?
100%.
It's
And
not
that's why
just-
I'm panicking.
It's just not changing. It's who's up and who's better. And can you say definitively this guy's better than that guy?
No.
Or are you saying that
don't need to anymore.
you just need to make a change? The decision is just make a change. And second is if he's better or worse with.
Yeah, I mean, if you think guys are fairly equal, you have to be different. I think that's kind of a no-brainer. The one I do wonder about, they've done the whole spend all the money to land the big guy on the market before with Babcock. Rod Brindamore. Rod Brindamore is the only guy who seems to have that accountability, honesty, intensity, this sort of thing that it feels like this core needs, who is not under contract. Is there any chance you could talk Rod Brindamore into it? No.
I don't know what's changed. He didn't take the New York Ranger job, and he could have wrote
Last
his
year.
own Babcock contract at $6 million. Didn't want it. And last I heard, whatever contract was tabled that was pulled off is back on right now. Owner knows Rod doesn't want to go anywhere. Rod knows he doesn't want to go anywhere.
But to me, it's a matter of him getting offended. Like, if you ground me like the way, if I were Rod Brindamore and they were like, we're trying to get you 30% below market value and grinding you over an extra $50,000 or whatever the number may be, I'd be like, you know what? I don't even care about the money anymore.
Listen, the mere fact he's still there after all these years already working with that owner tells you that that's not the way he thinks.
Yeah.
Okay.
And he's probably right to think that. It's smart. He wants to be there. His family's there. He's happy.
What did he make as a player?
Yeah.
60 million?
You're right. And I have a lot of respect for Rod Brindamore making that decision, having those priorities.
Yeah.
But there's got to be a point where you're like, all right, man.
Now, Berube as a Stanley Cup champion can come in and say, hey, don't even think twice that we're starting below 5x5. So he's in that category now. So Ottawa, as we saw with Travis Green, I think they probably capped out their salary at around 1.2,
No,
1.5.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
That's awfully affordable.
Well, listen, they fired, they're still paying Dorian. They still had to pay DJ Smith. So that's a budget move, too, in Ottawa.
Don't you feel like that's disheartening if you're a Sens fan, that you're like, oh, great. Like, we're shopping on the bulk barn again?
It's just the reality of business. That's all.
By the way, the Blues last 2 years did not qualify for playoffs, That cup will carry you a long way.
So
Sure hope he's really good.
yeah, I mean, that's the next question, and the one that you kind of alluded to there. Like, if it is, if they are talking to Berube, and it seems like there's a lot of buzz out there about it, is that the right move? I'll ask you two that guys that. Like, what do you...
Here's what I do think on the positive side, Sam. I think that Berube is someone who will look at the stars here and say, go kick rocks. If he doesn't like how they're playing, doesn't like their attitude, I think you could see the first William Nylander healthy scratch. I think you could see something that people in Toronto have been like, can we please hold the stars accountable.
Yeah.
I think he would do that.
I think it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard for guys like you and long term, and for them, that if Brendan's back and Sheldon's back, and let's say Mitch Marner doesn't like the teams that he's being offered on a trade, and he starts the season, that's probably too much of the same look. And judging by what I'm thinking about Friday's conference will not match up with what needs to be said Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So I think if they're able to land a coach that they're comfortable with, that would push buttons and be a lot more consistent on making some of the stars nervous in November and January and April, then they make a coaching change.
Make no mistake, a lot of the Leafs' first-round failings are the way they perform in the regular season and where they get seeded. The Vancouver Canucks weren't amazing in the first round, but they got the Preds. You know, the Preds are good, but they are not amazing. You know, the Rangers get the Capitals in the first round because they have a great regular season. The Leafs haven't done that.
Carolina got the Islanders because they were great.
They haven't put themselves in a spot where the first round isn't a knockdown, drag-out war of attrition.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the Atlantic Division. Like, you know, there's a lot of great teams where they've been a really good team, but they've just kind of been stuck in this scenario. I don't know. I get what you're saying, and it's been. I agree with it.
You
but
finish
it's just,
in first, you don't have to play in the Atlantic. You get the wild card too.
I mean, wouldn't you go Tampa?
This year, you would have, but if you finished, no, but if they had finished where, you know, ahead of the Rangers in points or whatever, then you don't. So, but I know your point, the Atlantic's been tough, but they've done it over multiple years where they haven't given themselves an easy enough first round opponent.
For me, and there are parts of Sheldon I like, and I think I've seen growth out of his coaching over the years. Unfortunately, he can't get over the hump in the playoffs, and there needs to be some sort of accountability on that. And if it costs him his job, then
it's tough to imagine him coming back and doing it again. Like, it's not that it's impossible or that I think he's not a good coach. You guys know how I feel about that. But
to me, the key in all of this is less about the coach, even less about Brendan Shanahan, but player personnel. They've never gotten it right. And it goes back to that simple argument. Can you win with four guys taking up half your salary in the forward position?
Mm-hmm.
And come Friday, you know, whether it's Brendan says it himself or someone asks him, he's got to come clean. I tried. I hung in there with the core four. You were all right. I was wrong, but I'm going to fix it now.
Wow. You think he would say that?
I don't know. I would.
I wrote an article today.
But then I'd have 100 of his millions of dollars in my bank, and I wouldn't give a crap.
But here's the thing, though. I think that's why people, if he stays, right, will have a hard time believing that the philosophy would change. That is his, like, core belief. Not to use the core term here, but we thought it was Dubas that was the core four guy. We thought that, like, but it seems that it was coming from above him even. Like, Dubas believed it, we can and we will, but it feels like it's Brandon as well. Like, is he really gonna?
Did you ever, like, to your point now, like when Sheldon always spoke about, you know, was there going to be a change, a goalie change, or, you know, it's like we, right? It's never it's my call. It's always we're going to take it back. We're going to discuss as a group. So yes, that's the way it works most of the time. It's
super
Brendan's
collaborative.
there, Brendan's there, Brad's there. And then, you know, there's stuff that Sheldon was told.
Part of the
not asked, told.
Part of the idea when Kyle Dubas took over the Leafs was, how do we wield our financial might as an organization to gain edges on other organizations off the ice? And that involved hiring a lot of people, a lot of opinions, a lot of cooks in the kitchen, a lot of specialists, a lot of whatever. So I do think that it's it's a lot from too many people.
Did it work?
No. Didn't work.
But you got some great meals out of it. Some really good chefs.
I did too. Oh, so the morning buffets were unbelievable.
So you think
at least they ate well?
Oh, yeah.
So you think that Brandon would be ready to go off of his core philosophy of the core four if he was remaining in place?
I don't know if it'll get that specific, but I don't know if he wants to do that or not. And the other thing too is you got to be careful too of the message that you want to send. You still got a guy in Mitch Marner under contract. You still got your captain under contract for another year. So any message you get out of that press conference will go directly into their lap, and they're going to have to deal with it. And they're going to hear, how does this affect me? And then you're going to also tell 31 other teams, you're saying that you're going to have to get rid of one of those guys. So I'm going to go in there and I'm going to make you an offer that is on my terms, not yours, because you already told the world that you're going to make a change. You know, you kabukied yourself.
Yeah.
What? I never heard that before.
I hear you. There
I've
is.
never heard kabuki.
No, I've heard it. I have heard it, and I have no idea if the context is right
Probably
or not,
haven't
but I
used that
have
word
heard
in
it.
20 years. Someone's going to say it's a very bad word.
I was going to say
you know,
it probably is.
Okay.
I hope it wasn't a bad word.
Yeah. Either way, we're pleading ignorance.
Totally.
The article I wrote today was on tree living in the deadline and how, the old expression, no half measures. It was such a half measure trade deadline where he didn't believe in this team enough to go all in, but he knew that he couldn't bail on the team and say, we're not going to add anything. And they added a couple of depth D and Connor Dewar, and then you get middling results, which is what the Minnesota Wild have been. And then you never pick high. It's what his Calgary Flames have been. Same kind of thing where you just went, are we sure?
Could Chris Tanev have gotten you past Boston Bruins?
Yes.
Ooh, that was a fast yes.
I mean,
Chris Tanev played 23-21 per game for the Dallas Stars, killed penalties and leads the playoffs in block shots.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said yesterday, he's on the ice for
the truth is,
every
we'll
good thing.
We'll never know.
We'll never know.
How about Zadorov? You don't get any goals from your back end here. Zadorov scores 2 big goals with the Calgary or New York, Vancouver Canucks, whoever it was, different team. He's been on lots of teams.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that would have just been
Adam Henrique.
That would have just been simply to give up a first rounder.
Yeah.
Right?
How about Wenberg?
Back end for me. Back end.
Their center scoring in the first round. I mean, not that Wenberg scores, but if you could have put him in the D zone, so you could have put your boy Mitch and JT in the other end of the rink, maybe that gets you a goal.
The truth is, though, Brad was gun shy because of the damage that Kyle Dubas
For
left
sure.
him with.
And that's essentially what I wrote. Is there's
happened. And
self-protection
I
going on there?
I can't blame him. Like, watch, you're not giving up first and seconds.
But you can't blame him from a Brad Tree Living perspective. Like, they didn't have a great first round opponent. If they go in a bit more, maybe that's the difference. And maybe there's 3 more home dates for Keith Pelly and MLSE to cash receipts. It's a big deal to move on and to take those risks. And they didn't have the chutzpah to do it this year.
I mean, these are great points. And I think my thoughts on Dubas are very clear, but I don't really have full thoughts on Treliving because it hasn't been a long time that they've been with it. I'm open for interpretation with him. I could go either way, but what you wrote today and talking about the deadline, it is a conversation. Like, their penalty kill was brutal, and they brought in Dewar to try to fix that, but it clearly wasn't enough. They brought in Edmonton to fix it, wasn't enough. Didn't get a puck mover. Like, there wasn't some misses.
I think he didn't believe in the team and said, I'm not spending too much on this.
For sure.
The issue, too, which you could clearly see is, okay, you had your core, or let's just say, from the draft perspective, there was Marner, Willie, and Matthews.
Mm-hmm.
But now they're 7 years in. There wasn't enough of gap guys underneath them to support them, with the exception of maybe Matthew Nyes. And then,
Bert was supposed to be. Domi was supposed to be.
But there's a lot of Pontus Holmberg.
Not from your draft. Not from your first and second picks.
Yeah.
After Marner, Matthews, and Nylander.
Yeah.
We'll exclude Tavares because he was a free agent.
But that's a bunch of the cap problems,
They
right?
gave those away. There was never guys to come up underneath them through the system, through the draft. They waited so long for Liljegren, who never came in as a top 4 guy legit.
Right.
Sandin, they
But
traded
it was
away.
supposed to be.
No.
It was supposed to be Kasperi Kapanen. It was supposed to be Connor Brown, Zach Hyman. It was supposed to be Andreas Janssen. It was supposed they
gave them
had
all
guys.
away.
They
gave
did.
them all away, right?
You know,
gave them
they-
all away.
And not
Look
that
at
Justin Brazeau.
Dallas now. Wyatt Johnson and Thomas Harley. Like, those guys are like stars and they're 21. Where are the Leafs guys to help Marner, Matthews, and Nylander?
Seth Jarvis would have been nice.
That's why everyone yelling at us, well, me in particular, for being like, Liljegren is, I don't know, take him or leave him, dress him or not. what's he going to be?
He's a
It's like,
bottom pair guy.
When it's like he's coming. Well, okay, what do you think he's going to be?
At what point is this going to flip into him being really good?
Right, like really good guys tend to be pretty good young.
Yeah.
He's like passable now. And I think he's going to have a good year next year and the year after. I actually do, and I'm not just saying that. It's just he's not a needle mover. He's fine. He's your 10th number 5 D-man. You're right, Kip. They didn't have any huge hits. McMahon has become that for them. And they're going to bank on that. Nyes is going to hopefully be that. And you're hoping Cowan or Minton, one of the two of them, give you something.
Easton Cowan heading to the OHL finals with the London Knights.
We'll get into that. We'll take a quick break here.
Yeah, let's take a break.
And then when we return, we'll talk about ways that they can improve because, unfortunately, it's not through the cupboards right now. So we'll talk Easton Cowan. We'll talk free agency and what we can
We
expect.
have Luke, too. Luke Fox.
And we got Luke Fox.
He's going to join us.
And at the top of the hour,
we got Marty Turco talk about the Dallas Stars. The charcuterie board killer himself.
Charcuterie board. All right, salami, cheese, and Marty Turco at the top of the hour. Can't wait. More real Kyper and Bourne when we return. All right, let's welcome in Luke Fox, Leaf and NHL writer for Sportsnet.ca. Luke, always a pleasure to have you on the show. I know you've covered a few of these exit interviews, end of the season. What did you get out of yesterday? How did it differ from any other one you've covered?
You know what, Nick? I think that one of the biggest things was that it didn't differ that much. It felt like the same old people asking the same old questions, getting the same old answers from the same players. I think that's what struck me is just how familiar it all felt. You dig a little bit deeper, and I think the lack of accountability, which I believe is kind of a top-down culture thing with this organization right now, that stuck out. It didn't surprise me, but it stuck out. Just not enough. Hey, I could have been better. I should have scored more goals. I need to find a way to push through. It was kind of, we're close, or there was even mention about the penalty kill making improvements throughout the series, or the power play getting some good looks in Game 7. And it's just a little bit of read the room. There's a disconnect, it feels to me, between the players and the fan base. And I think they missed a lot of the right notes. I will say that Samsonov, didn't make any excuses. Right after the game, he said, luck is for losers. He's like, you can't talk about good luck or bad luck. And I thought that was a great line. But, he's probably not on this roster next year. So I don't know what him taking responsibility means. And then the other big thing was just Sheldon Keefe. It's my understanding he didn't have to speak, but he spoke. And you could tell it was tough for him. It was, you could feel the emotion right from the beginning. And he wanted to make some comments taking responsibility before he even answered a single question. So I think he showed a lot of character, which is, his team showed some character fighting back to get to Game 7. I just have serious issues with the roster construction. And, I'm not alone, but my doubts that they're going to eventually barge through this door with the same group is the doubts are high.
I'm now vaguely remembering a column you wrote earlier in the season that expressed some skepticism about the team. Was that this season or the year before?
The year before, but I may have copied it. I may have copied and pasted it.
Change the date.
This year too. Yeah.
So Sheldon, go ahead.
No, it's just I just think you take half your cap, you put it in 5 guys. It's a team sport. You need to spread the wealth a little bit. Yeah,
it makes sense. So Sheldon it was optional for him to speak. That is the understanding, that he didn't need to come out there and talk. That would have been really fascinating had he not spoken, would it not?
Well, I get it probably would have raised more questions. I mean, there's already questions, and it's kind of crazy. This is the second offseason in a row where they've just let the head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs twist in the wind. Mm-hmm. I understand there's a lot of decision makers behind the scenes. I'm sure there's board meetings and committees, and there's a lot of voices before any decision is made with this hockey team. But good on Sheldon to be out there taking the bullets And it almost felt like he was applying for his next job.
Oh.
Kind of saying, he even said, it was, we were joking after. Remember, Mike Babcock is always going to bet on Mike Babcock. Remember that line?
Yes.
Sheldon Keefe didn't speak of himself in the third person, but he did say, I believe in myself. I believe I will win. I believe this team will win. And I like that conviction, acknowledging your mistakes, your failings, but saying to the hockey world, I will be better for this. And I think he's a good coach. I just think it's time for a fresh voice for this group.
We're talking to Luke Fox, Leaf, an NHL writer for Sportsnet.ca. So, Luke, Friday we do know that CEO of MLSE, Keith Pelly, Brendan Shanahan, and Brad Treliving will get together at the Ford Performance Center on Friday, 10:30 a.m. I had mentioned that I believe that they'll all be aligned in terms of the vision moving forward. What do you expect?
It seems to me like it's like a united front. Like, hey, we're all in this together. We're gonna get this team on the right track together. I think, and rightfully so, one of the biggest questions coming out of this, eighth playoff series, postseason series loss in 9 tries, like 1-8 with this group is, has the Shanna plan failed? Does he need to go? And the fact that he's going to be there and Pelly's going to be there lends me to believe, and we'll wait and see what they have to say. But it would suggest to me that Shanahan is safe for at least a year and Pelly's taking his time, not unlike the way Treliving took his time, right? You have that shield. I'm not going to fire Sheldon right away, because if I fire him, then I use a bullet and the attention starts to turn towards me. If Pelly keeps Shanahan, hey, I have a shield in front of me. I have a card to play down the road if I keep Shanahan.
So what's your first question at the press conference? You want to try it on us?
How strongly do you believe in this core? Does the core need to be broken up?
Yeah.
And when you speak of the 4,
Great
you're
question.
talking about 4 guys.
5 guys. I know it rhymes 4, but 5 guys. I throw Morgan in there.
You put Morgan in there.
I put Morgan in there. Yeah, he's part of this.
The live 5. No, it doesn't
there
work.
you go.
No, sorry. So
have they all gotten phone calls already saying they're safe,
yeah, looking back at that last year, that is a bit of a pivotal moment, right?
There is no phone calls. They are safe. We all have no moves, man. Where do you ask me if I'm feeling safe or not?
But there's a conversation to be had about those no moves.
I get that. That's fair.
So what do you think that the Leafs can take away from this season that can be a part of next year's Stanley Cup victory? What are the pieces that they're going to hang on to get
first,
there,
folks?
You know what? There are some, we're focusing on the negatives from that series because they lost.
Right.
But
one more
I think
goal.
Simone Benoit was a great story this year. Great that they got him at a cheap deal. Bobby McMahon, if he can stay healthy, great story from this year. Matthew Nyes blew me away with his performance, unshook by the moment. Fantastic in overtimes. He played every period the same. Big guy that kind of realized he was a big guy. And him poking at David Pastrnak, sticking up for Morgan Rielly and saying, no, go me, go me. I thought that was a fantastic moment. The guy's only 21 years old. He's a bright light. So there are positives to take from this. Joseph Woll, when healthy, stood on his head. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
So maybe he needs to have an off season where he needs to figure out what he needs to do so he's not so fragile. So there are bright things. And you know what? Austin, when he was healthy, was good. Willie scored the last 3 goals for this team. Once he got his migraine issue under control, I thought he was good. It made an impact in the games he did play. So it's certainly not all bad. The other thing is the character they showed. They put together 2 or 3 of the best defensive games I've ever seen them play.
Positives on the Leafs. I'm glad we had that ask, because to be honest, there was a lot. You don't go 7 games without some good things happening.
Do you expect Mitch Marner to start the season? John Tavares, they've got the last remaining years on their deal. If change has to come, are they at the top of the list for you?
Yeah, except for John. Let's start with John. I'd be shocked if he's not wearing a Maple Leafs uniform at training camp. Just the tone he speaks with. He wants to stay. He's got 3 kids here, raising a family here. The other thing is, if you trade him, you're going to either eat salary and or have to put a sweetener a la Patrick Marleau. And we saw.
I'm not sure about that.
You think someone would take it 11 million?
No. The Leafs would have to eat a portion of his last year, but it would still free up like $6 million if they ate 50%. You could add a pretty good player to save $6 million. And he's still got the ability to score 55, 60 points. And here's here's the biggest sweetener here is that a team that's under the salary cap doesn't care that it's $11 million. It's not $11 million. It's minimal. You're getting John Tavares for $775,000
salary
because his signing bonus is $10 million, and you get the Leafs to eat that.
Yeah,
you following me?
You know when that's paid, July 1st, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay, so I understand it from the acquiring team's point of view, Nick. Where I would push back is the teams that have cap space are generally not contenders, and this guy's he's only gotten to the second round twice in his life. His legs are losing some of the jump. Like, he wants to win.
Luke, he could still help you get into the playoffs. Any team that has aspirations to get into the playoffs, he can still score. It may not have the legs to contend as a number 1 or number 2 centerman for a championship caliber team, but he can still help you get in the playoffs. I think there would be a lot of teams interested in getting John Tavares at the right price.
No, I'm agreeing with you that teams would be interested. I just don't know if he'd be interested.
Would he be interested in being a 4th liner here, playing every other night?
But he's not going to be on the fourth. Who's playing center? Who's moving up? Kampf?
It's a pretty limited. Is Holmberg going to score a goal?
Yeah. Domi. You got some options.
Well,
hey, listen.
If they pull that
it's
off,
complicated. How much do you want to get?
How hardball do you want to get if you're the Leafs to clean this up?
Well, it is a fascinating conversation. Again, he does hold the cards. I just can't see him wanting to do it. But you're right. If they would be mean to him and say you're not going to play or whatever, but that's tough to see too for a guy who chose to come here, hometown boy.
No, it's over.
What do you mean it's over?
Being nice is over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that would be a fascinating.
Is that? Do you feel like? Do you have some knowledge that they feel like being nice is over? Or just from your point of view?
This is just me, you, and everybody in the city.
We're just throwing things at the wall here.
We're just chewing the fat here.
All right. That's going to be a fascinating one.
Luke's looking for a scoop now. Eh?
Well, you put him on the scent of a new topic. So, as they head towards what is this weird Friday press conference, whatever, they've got a couple of guys who helped a lot, played the first line in Domi and Bertuzzi, who made $3 million and $5.5 million. Both guys were good, right? They're good players for them. Do you think they'll both be back? And if so, any sense for what that might cost?
No, I don't think they'll both be back. I just don't think there's going to be enough money. I think they both want term. I think they both bet on themselves on 1-year deals. And now that they've gotten some spotlight and had decent series, that slow starts, strong finishes in my mind for both guys. They're going to want some more money. Had a chance to talk to both of them yesterday. Both, as every free agent should say, they're willing to come back. I asked Domi specifically about term, and he said, "Oh, well, that's not up to me." And I would say, "Well, you're the free agent. It is kind of up to you if you want term." But I think both had good fits. Bertuzzi said that his family really liked it here, but Noel Acciari said similar things at the end of last year, right?
Max
so you take it with a grain of salt.
Max is ahead of Bertuzzi for the Leafs wanting one of two back.
Yeah. Listen, I liked Max.
Listen, Max showed an ability to play center. He showed the ability to run shotgun with Austin Matthews. He's shown the ability to be able to handle the market. Come on, those
Yeah.
things are big.
Did we ever see more than a game of Domi, Matthews, Marner all year? One game, maybe?
They have a couple bump up shifts, yeah, but yeah. But I agree with you, Nick, in that his ability to play center was huge. And when they brought him in, they envisioned him as a winger, and then he didn't really get his legs going until they moved him to center midway through the season.
But he's not going to be a centerman when they win a playoff round in that cup next year, guys. Right?
And I say this with a grain of salt on there might be an outside shot that Easton Cowan could come in and maybe fill a void left by a Bertuzzi. I know it's a long shot. I know he's got another year of eligibility. He can't be sent to the minors, but he's close.
Really? He had a hell of a year, huh?
He's close. That's a conversation for tomorrow. We'll get more into
Do
Easton
you want to
Cowan,
rush?
but-
Do you want to rush such a value? That's the best
That's
prospect. Do you want to
the
rush him?
I'm willing to have that conversation, and it's legit. And you make a very valid point, and that's where you better know your prospect.
I'm on Team Rush, everyone. If you can play in the league, go play in the league.
Luke,
I'm not
with
a
you, bud.
prospect development
It's
guy.
legit, and we're running out of time, but that's
All right.
that's a good conversation to have.
Okay.
Good luck on Friday, pal.
Uh,
All right.
Hey,
It'll be interesting.
We're watching, and we're looking forward to you. Rattling the cage a little bit.
I
on
know
Friday.
Steve Simmons missed the last one. I think he'll probably be there on Friday, so he can throw some grenades in there, and you can follow up. With the
He should show up with all the covers of the Toronto Sun.
Answer, you're next.
Yeah.
Hold it up.
Yeah.
You don't see my cover;
All right.
it's invisible.
Thanks, Luke. Appreciate your time.
All right,
right,
Luke
take care.
Fox, Sportsnet.ca.
We got a text. Kabuki is a form of classical theater in Japan, known for its elaborate costumes and dynamic acting. The phrases kabuki theater, kabuki dance, or kabuki play are sometimes used in political discourse to describe an event characterized more by showmanship than by content.
Well, it's actually a wrestling term as well, I believe.
Okay.
I'm more confused than
breaking
ever if I
kabuki
used
is,
it.
I don't think you did.
I don't think
Properly.
you did either. You didn't offend anyone, and that's
No,
what's
that's-
important.
Whoa! No knock on the door from HR.
No, you're
No,
clean.
we're good.
You're in the good.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, that's
The Tavares. Come on.
What?
You think he's going to go? It's
go play for the
obvi-
Blackhawks.
It's obviously a tremendous honor for him to play for the Leafs, so he's not going anywhere.
Obviously,
Listen, I'm just telling you that you got to look at everything.
I saw
Okay.
I saw
Oh, let me
Habs
ask you something.
podcast today talking
Wait.
about him going there.
You're trying to transition now. You got to talk about taking the C off of him for next year too.
I got to tell you, my honest truth is that I respect Tavares and I like him, and I think he's a wonderful human being, but he's a problem for the Leafs. That not just the money, but like his performance. He's just. I don't know what his actual value is in dollars, but I do think that at half the price, you could probably find someone that you could get as much or more out of.
If you ran his
Different.
Leafs career through 10 separate simulations, this is probably the worst possible outcome, like of how
Sure.
it's gone.
Sure.
Right? Like he signed here, it's for 7 years, and they got out of the first round once, and
Montreal series and things just didn't
it's just
quite
gone
go.
bad. Like
Oh,
it's been
OT
great
winner to win
great
a
in the regular-
playoff round.
Great, yeah, that was
Yeah.
awesome.
The other mistake they made too is the last year shouldn't have been all signing bonus.
Well, that
They
makes him
sh-
more tradable, doesn't it?
No, it makes him less tradable because you can't. Or yeah, maybe, but
Oh, you can't buy it
can't
out.
buy him out.
Yeah.
They should have set it up. If you knew that his
He knew
legs
what
would
he
have
was
been an
doing.
issue,
He knew that too.
You think his agent didn't know
they
that?
should have.
Yeah.
They should have had a wiggle room where they could buy him out. It would solve a lot of issues. Help, alleviate. Sorry, not solve.
I don't think they got many. No one cut them any slack on those deals. Those stars.
All right. Once again, we solved nothing on the show. We just upset a lot of people, or at least I did. That's all right. Okay, we go national with Marty Turco, former NHLer, 3-time NHL All-Star. We'll talk Dallas Stars, Colorado next when we return. Real Kyper and Bourne. All right, let's get her going on our national hour of the Real Kyper and Bourne. Nick Kypreos, Justin Bourne, Sammy McKee. A few minutes, we'll welcome in Marty Turco.
Should we do more Leafs talk in the national hour?
No, we shall not.
People loved that yesterday, so we should do more.
Wherever you are, wherever you're watching and listening, Sportsnet 650 in Vancouver, Sportsnet 960 in Calgary. Thanks for joining us. This hour, Real Kyper and Bourne, brought to you by Bet365. As I said, former NHLer Marty Turco does a terrific job now. Special assistant to the president of the Dallas Stars. As we get ready for Stars Avalanche.
You know what else we're getting ready for tonight? The NHL Draft Lottery.
Oh, right.
That's tonight. And that is going to be a very exciting...
Are you covering that? Are you doing anything?
No, not tonight. I am going to be on alternate nights from the Edmonton-Vancouver series. I'll be on the Television.
Which game?
Boston, Florida, with Carolyn Cameron and Sam Cosentino.
Nice.
Looking forward to that. NHL Draft Lottery odds, number one pick, San Jose Sharks, 25.5% chance of landing Macklin Celebrini, followed by Chicago, Anaheim, Columbus, Montreal, then Utah. Oh, then Ottawa, too. Another exciting name in there. The Flames have a 5% chance. The Sabres have the longest odds, 3%, but they do have a chance.
Montreal
Montreal's
8.5.
Yeah, they're 8.5, fifth.
That
That would be a
They're in
big
a
deal.
sweet spot.
So
Big deal.
our friend from down south, I think we've had him on our show before, John Buchagros.
Hey, Bucci.
Yeah.
Learned my book. Good dude.
Yeah. You should have him on again.
I'd love to.
He tweeted out we have arrived in New Jersey for tonight's festivities, 6:30 Eastern. And he tweeted out a picture of a board with like results on it.
Yeah.
So everyone's going nuts about it, obviously. San Jose was the first overall pick. Salt Lake, whatever they're going to be called, was second overall.
Really?
Yeah. Chicago third. They're clearly just rehearsing, but it's got people all hot and bothered. So, yeah. I'm really hoping that, I don't know, like Chicago gets another one here.
You want Chicago to get it? 13.5?
I don't know if I want them to get it, but I just kind of feel like they're going to.
We should. The worst case scenario for me is like Anaheim or Columbus.
Everybody's going to scream fixed again now. That's
If what?
not.
If
If Chicago
gets
gets it.
The league could use it.
I kind of feel like they're going to get it. There's two things that there's two
I don't
outcomes.
want to deal with that.
Two outcomes that people will scream fixed. Salt Lake getting number one.
Yes, they will. Montreal.
No, I don't think so.
You don't think Montreal?
No,
they just get Slavkovsky, the league? No.
I think Salt Lake as a new franchise with the sexy new owner that everybody loves and they get the first overall pick. That's one for me. And then Chicago getting it are the only two ones where people will be like, frozen envelope, it was fixed.
I think if I'm an Arizona Coyotes fan and the Utah Utes win the number one overall pick, I just eat a cactus. The whole thing, I just ingest it. I'm done with life.
You know what those Arizona Coyotes fans are like? Hockey? Four? They don't care.
They're some.
Those 10 guys will be so pissed.
If they don't get the first pick, Utah, that owner's going to make a splash somewhere.
You think they're going to bring in a big name?
Oh, guaranteed.
Yeah, it's new owner syndrome.
Guaranteed.
Like it happens all the time in sports.
Mitch
This guy's
Marner?
going to be.
Oh, boy.
Well, if you think about it, they've got assets, they've got prospects, and they got room.
And
that is the triple
dun, dun, dun.
combo.
And I remember something at the All-Star game of Matthews and Clayton Keller playing very well together. I don't know if they'd want to get rid of Clayton Keller, but
team grabs a good player, trades their best player.
You don't trade for Marner and move Keller.
No,
you don't.
I know.
Nice try.
By the
Thank
way,
you, Sammy.
Gotta love Clayton Keller's career. Gets to play in Arizona as like a one handicapper or whatever he is. Salt Lake City, beautiful place to play golf.
Oh, really?
Oh, yes.
I didn't know that about it.
Absolutely spectacular golf courses there.
Really?
And you can play, they probably have a month or two you can't play in the winter, but yeah, he'll be happy.
I think it'd be fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
Place, mountains,
Buddy,
golf.
you can ski and golf in the same day there. It's great.
just can't drink.
Well, you can. You just got to be a member at the bar, pay your $10 fee, and pour your own drink.
Yeah, he knows.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, hockey players don't like to drink, so they'll be fine.
I mean, you can get.
Listen, you can find
Stop
anything.
on-
You can find anything you
on
want.
Sundays, they tell you can drive across state lines and bring it back.
Can you do beers in the locker room after? Do they still do beers in the locker room after
I
the
don't
NHL?
know where that would happen. Yeah, I don't think so.
No?
No.
Okay.
How about the New York Islanders built a card and drinking room off their dressing room while my dad was there? Like it was like an add-on. They needed the drinking and cards room. Wife is just waiting outside.
How long has that been around?
It's not around anymore, but
Yeah,
at
it was
Nassau
at Nassau,
Coliseum,
yeah.
yeah.
That's incredible.
The guy's just coming out 6 beers in, just like,
Their wives are like, what
Are
are
they
they
in a
doing?
parking lot? Did you ever see that one commercial where the guy's, the wife's waiting for the hockey player? He's come off and he talks to her like he's being interviewed.
yes, I have. It's an excellent commercial.
And she's like looking at him like he's got 3
That was
heads.
mine.
I'll
Well,
be in the
you
car.
Yeah.
I mean, if my wife would never come to one of my hockey games, but if she was waiting, it would be an extremely long wait. Like me in the dressing room after, that's the whole reason I go. Just to hang out after.
You love the shower,
The
eh?
shower and hang out. That's the whole reason I go.
All right, game 1. What do we expect out of a Dallas, Colorado? This one's going to be one that could
What a
easily
hockey
be a
series.
Stanley Cup final as well.
My worry is that both teams are too good and it's going to be very defensive hockey. But Colorado did just score 300 goals against the Winnipeg Jets. So maybe I can throw that theory out the window. It's going to be fast, tons of talent. This will be hockey at its finest. I'm really, really excited for this series.
Yeah, this will be the best second round series.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's interesting that we've been talking in our first hour about coaching, of course, and what happens with Sheldon Keefe, but going into that game 7, it was also Jim Montgomery who was feeling the heat.
Yeah.
I was in Boston on the weekend, and there's a lot of people saying that guy will not survive with a game 7 loss.
No.
Being one of the first to blow consecutive 3-1 series back to back.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just wondering, as we welcome in Marty Charcuterie Board Turco to the Real Kyper and Bourne show.
Oh, God, what a day.
Look, we got you on Zoom. You got the shades, flowers in the background. And where's the charcuterie board? That's what I want to know.
It's some prosciutto and some goat cheese just for one today. Sorry.
Nice. Well,
respect.
we appreciate you coming on our show and helping us tee up Colorado and Dallas, and just to maybe put a bow on it for us in that first round against Vegas, Marty, because there's so much on the line. We were just talking about coaches feeling the heat, Jim Montgomery and Sheldon Keefe in their game 7 in the first round. But what about Peter DeBoer? Was he feeling it a little bit too in game 7?
Yeah, he was, but apparently the feelings were good. The guys was 7-0 coming in on game 7s and mopped up his old team.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a ton of pressure on a lot of these guys, and even though they seem to get the next job no matter what, Pete's a great coach. He was under the gun, just being first, playing against the Stanley Cup champs. They didn't really sneak into the playoffs, but they were one of the best teams that was playing in the tournament. And so going down 2 games, that was where the pressure was at. When you get to game 7, pressure's on everybody. You don't know what's going to happen, bounces, who's going to score the big goal. And he makes a lineup change, and bam, he comes Radek Faksa, scores the game-winning goal. So he seemed to have all the right moves.
Marty, tell us a little bit about the Dallas Stars roster construction, because looking at the team from the outside, it seems like a bunch of near retirees and teenagers that are playing together on the same team. How are these young guys doing
It's like
it?
a Big Brother program there, eh?
Yeah, we're just singing Kumbaya, holding hands. I used to get that kid. It's a Dallas Stars billet program, we call it down here. Hey, you know what? If we're gonna teach our young kids, we got some really good vets to do so. The Ryan Shooters, Benner. These guys have seen a lot. The addition of Chris Tanev at the end, who's playing great hockey. He's got a lot of future in front of him, but he's a veteran, so we're good. But you're right, man. Our best players might be our youngest guys, man. Holy Snikes! So the team construction is, this year was really fortunate for us to get Duchesne on that buyout to come in and really solidify our third, our second line, third line, whatever you want to call it. They kind of all seem to play collectively well and really boost Marchman and Tyler Seguin this year. Those guys have fantastic years. Mm-hmm. And obviously we have, Pavelski anchoring Rupe and Robo, but Wyatt Johnson, man. And even though during the year they had Dadenoff and Benner, and then Logan Stankoven comes along. I mean, these kids in the same draft, for a couple of years ago, if they're not already, I mean, they will be our 2 best players moving forward. We got a few more in the minors coming, so the billet program is alive and well here in Texas.
What makes a 20-year-old Wyatt Johnson so good, so special?
That's a great question. He's got it all right. Skill set. He doesn't have blazing speed, but no one's catching him either. But he just has a knack for the big moments. He plays every shift hard. His eye-hand coordination and the way he digs at pucks is fantastic. He's just got no quit in him. And clearly, just coming straight from junior to the NHL, the kid's got a lot of moxie, and he holds himself in high regard. And I think living at Joe Pavelski's house has helped him with his confidence. When maybe nights he might be enjoying another refreshment, if he's even legal here in this country after the steakhouse, he's playing video games, talking hockey. And, Joe's the ultimate pro, so couldn't have went any better for us. But this guy just, he takes face-offs, he blocks shots, penalty kills, power play. He's a big cog in our wheel. We're very fortunate to get him late in that first round a few years ago, and then bam, second round gets Stankoven. So we feel good about what our hockey ops has done recently in constructing this team, not just the forwards, but adding Tanev at the deadline, having a great goalie tandem. It's a pretty good recipe in the deepest pool I've ever seen in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I don't envy, it's a hard tournament to win. It's harder than ever, I would think. Winning the West was great, but we got our work cut out for us. And hopefully home ice really has its advantages.
So you mentioned the goaltending. Maybe you could fill us in a bit on the roller coaster season that Jake Ottinger has had. Maybe the early part of the year wasn't up to expectations. In the first round, he's a .925 save percentage. He's fantastic, as to be expected. Tell us about his season.
Well, most people, don't recall nor care about, to be honest. He didn't skate much this summer. He had very limited ice time coming into camp, and I'd say the initial week, 2, 3, maybe even month, let's call it, was pretty good, actually. He was in the Vezina, talk early season, October, before American Thanksgiving, and then it slowed down, missed some time in the net, and just never really got it back. So the meat and potatoes part of the season wasn't what we would have liked, but still a top-notch goaltender. And as Daryl Ray eloquently puts it, the kid has pedigree. He might not be playing like one of the best in the world at the moment, but he has the pedigree. And that part we do know it. So that just gives you confidence, knowing that even if you don't think we limped into the postseason based off goaltending save percentage, well, it really wasn't the case. Wedgie played great when he needed him to. I mean, at one point he played 10 games in a row, and the first 8 were just spectacular. So, we cut these guys some slack, and at the end of the day, you just need to perform in the playoffs. You need to get in the playoffs. They got us in, and now you need to play well in the playoffs. And so far, Jake's been great, particularly the second half of all the games. He has been nothing but the best goaltender in this tournament when you talk about the latter half of the games.
Marty, as a goaltender, you must have such an appreciation for this time of year and what you guys have to go through to prepare to roll off a bad goal or a bad loss. You got Ottinger there. Swayman is off the charts in Boston, and
Yeah.
they're all talented guys, Marty. But what is it about a goalie this time of year that stands up above anything else for you?
It just says a lot about what they have between the ears. You're right, Kyper. It's not easy. Every guy in this league, every guy in the AHL, most guys in junior, college, they're great goaltenders. They got the substance, they got the moves, they got size, they got something, and oftentimes a lot of it. But this time of the year, you're right. It is difficult to be a Duck and have that water roll off the back. It's just not the same. The people cheering a little louder, the lights are a little bit brighter, and those opportunities just they don't just come and go. And when you think like that, but the guys who play well are playing well, that need to play well, need to stay healthy, need to stay on top of their game, watching the Swaymans, even Bobrovsky. I just love the way the old guy moves still. Jake here, he's cooler and calmer and big, the way he plays. You got to appreciate good goaltending. You just don't know when you're not going to have it. So when you have it, you got to ride it. And most importantly, these goaltenders give their team confidence. And even though the teams are good and they're expected to be, or they're expected to win, all of them, and this playoff's so tight that each goaltender gives their team, a certain amount of confidence. The one that usually gives the most by making big saves at the right time, or saves that they shouldn't. Those are the teams that usually end up passing on through. And unfortunately, this game's played too, guys, at a pace where there's more people in front of the net. There seems to be more shots coming from all over the place. That, before, if you had a good goaltender or a guy playing out of his mind, you can steal a game. And I just find it a little bit harder to steal games, but you got to make those saves that you need to make. You got to make some that you shouldn't, but you certainly can't let in that bad timely goal that really can cost your team a game and ultimately series. And if that's not pressure, I don't know what it was. That's the only thing I miss about playing hockey other than the boys. And it is a great time of year, and it's really good for the goaltenders.
Just on that thought, Marty, and what we saw in the first round, I'm watching Nashville surround Saros. It's like watching 5 goalies on the ice. I'm watching Dallas in the last 8 minutes close out Vegas, and I'm watching the layers in front of Ottinger. Was that something that has evolved? I mean, was it that way when you played, where you had to go through 8 pairs of legs before it got to you? Or is it, would you still prefer, hey, get the hell out of my way and let me see the puck?
Well, I always said, if you're going to blame me, you might as well let me see it. If I can't see it, I can't stop it. But you really appreciate the guys making the sacrifice. And there's been plenty of awesome photos over the years of Stanley Cup finals and the playoffs with just 4 stacked up trying to block it and all willing to take it in the face. And that's what makes this sport, this tournament, the Stanley Cup, winning and putting over your head, why it's the greatest and the hardest. The guys are willing literally to do whatever they can. And you appreciate it as a goaltender. It's they're willing to do it. Obviously, there's a little it looks like a lot of chaos sometimes, but there's some nuances to it. I think this shot blocking has gotten a bigger asset over the last 15, 20 years. And they just know, the statistics know, just getting in the way and stay tighter in there, keep the shots moving it, and then trying to create turnovers. But sacrificing is a huge part of our game. The guys do it to endless degree. We have to do it just by occupational trade, but we have a big mask on, big cup on, big shoulder pads, so we can handle it. And I'm in awe sometimes of these guys, how they do it. But from a goalie's perspective, I like to see the puck make the save. I'll tell you, I really appreciate it. They always get a pat on the rear end for me after the game.
A lot of us fans kind of play the results with goalies. They don't let in many. We give them credit, or the opposite. Connor Hellebuck, after the series against Colorado, he said in his interview, I was dialed. Like, I was in a flow state. I was feeling as good as I've ever felt in the net, and it just didn't go his way. I know sometimes as a player that happens, where you feel like it's going well and it won't go in, or you're playing bad and it comes to you. Does that happen for a guy?
Can you let in 5 every night and say I'm playing great?
That was a much shorter way to say it.
I can't say letting 5 like that. We lost some first round series we should have won, and I was like, man, I felt pretty good. That's like, it does happen. We had shin pads from behind the net, overtime goals and stuff. So I really think, taking out of context a little bit, I think he was referring to his whole body of work, including the season where, probably won the Vezina Trophy the year that he had. And saying that, I think deep down he believed it. Like, I was moving great, I was tracking it good, and sometimes he just, even over a 7-game series, you get smoked. And these guys are pretty good too. The other guys don't get credit. Colorado was flying guys. They were awesome. They deserved to win that series. And I'm not sure how much, Connor could have did, to be honest. I think he was being honest. I don't think it was just a fluff piece or some, personal marketing to go make sure he gets that Vezina, because it's just a tough game. That's why he plays it. So when he does get beat, that big guy, he's usually in the right spot at the right time. And, he's not making split saves that often. So when they get around him and a bunch of rebound goals and backdoors, it's like, I do believe him, but I don't envy his position. I understand the climate and temperatures especially being in Canada.
I know as a goaltender for Jake Ottinger, he's focusing on all the shooters here, but man, it goes a long way if you can shut down Nate McKinnon and Cale Makar. As a goaltender in your day, when you faced top teams, how much was a focus on 1 or 2 guys compared to the rest of the team? And who did you fear? Who was your fear? Who were you fearful in a series?
Well, you got to think, like, just this series alone, it was a big rival of ours back in, early in my career from 99, 2000. We played them 2 more times. Sakic, Forsberg, right? These guys but they also had Drury and Hayduk and, a lot of other great, talented guys. And so you just kind of, Sakic shot it so good and passed it so well. And Forsberg was just a bear on skates. I just look forward to it, honestly. And I can't say they really own me, but they just made you better because they made you just, go to bed 10 minutes earlier, wake up middle of the night thinking about it. And you had tension and you were nervous, and you just know over your career, you're tense because you cared, and you're nervous because it mattered to you, and you cared about your teammates and your fans. You wanted to win. So playing against those guys, and then we had Solani, and we had Getzlaf and Perry and Anaheim in the playoffs. Those guys were fantastic. But the only guy I had my number, and I was like, I don't know where he was shooting. It was Datsuk. And I'm not even sure if he did score one or two on me in the 08 playoffs. He beat us in the conference finals. But I really enjoyed it. I love knowing that. And so for our goalie, I think the speed guys, you got to really know when they're on the ice, because you just got to be a step ahead. You got to be outside a little bit quicker coming back, especially the way I played. But Cale Makar, how do you really plan for him? He's always coming from the back end. Gets a pike, he dances the blue line, he comes down the boards, he's shooting, he's passing, he flies. And it's hard to prepare for him, but I always, I always knew when a guy like that was on the ice, and I think that is the most important thing. And nonetheless, just being ready to rock. And for Jake's sake, we got Miro Heiskanen, and Miro is as talented as he is offensively. He's very underrated defensively, and so he'll do a number on McKinnon in my books. And as a goaltender, that just gives me added confidence knowing that my best player is going to handle theirs.
Marty, last one for me. Just if they were to get through this series, it's possible they would play Connor McDavid. That's a different type of animal that you're talking about. Would you ever watch a video, or would the teams now watch a video for a goaltender on, hey, here's some of the things guys like this do?
Yeah, you can. And I mean, you certainly have to. We'll watch a video on everybody. And I mean, there's enough video in the United States of Connor McDavid. Just watch some commercials, NHL Network. You're going to see it all. He's flying. He's good. He's fun to watch. Again, back to the Miro effect. But adversely on the video part, sometimes when you watch video and you see tendencies or you expect something, it just takes you out of your reaction moment. And so you just put the work in. In the back of your mind that there's something where you might load a little extra, or take a step back, or take a step in. That guy's a passer, and that shot's coming. Or this guy's got to move. For me, it was a quick poke check just to defend something. But sometimes that video can be more like paralysis by analysis. And so it's a fine line you walk. You get those nuances. In the day, you get out there, you're like, hey, I'm ready to go. I trust myself, and I think Jake's well prepared. We'll be in good hands tonight against Colorado.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. It's 9:30 Eastern puck drop, Colorado and Dallas. Hey, Marty, great stuff, man. Hey, keep enjoying the playoff weather. I
can see the pool light shimmering on the tree. Looks great.
Maybe take a plunge in the pool.
He's gone. We lost him. He's swimming. He's swimming. He dropped his laptop in the pool.
That was perfect freeze timing right there on our Zoom call.
Yeah.
What do you think?
We haven't had any freezes all year.
No.
It's been hot this year.
Now you kabuki-ness.
We're going to use that word from now on.
real kabuki and Bourne?
Yeah, replaceable for...
Who do you like in this series?
I like Dallas.
I like hockey.
Yeah, I do think that Dallas is really tough to beat. They're just so solid all over, and so many weapons. I know Colorado has the top end guys, but that's going to be a tough Dallas team to beat.
Just fun listening to Marty talk about facing Colorado in his day with Sakic and Forsberg and Hayduk.
How about Adam Deadmarsh? He was really good. Like
Tangay's super underrated.
So good.
We know McKinnon takes all the credit, but how about this Nikushkin again?
Yeah.
Beast mode
on fire again.
I only had 7 in the first round.
Did at least have 7 combined?
Almost.
We know Rantanen as well, but Lehkonen, what a pickup he's been since they brought him in from Montreal. And Middlestat, he had a heck of a series, first round.
I know I
was a little tough on him.
There's some guy that tweets us every day, did you see Middlestat? I'm like, God, we didn't even talk about that much.
Listen, I'll take a good defenseman over a good forward anytime.
Yeah,
they're just harder to find.
Yeah,
and they can be more impactful, but Middlestat's held his own.
Yeah, he's been good. In this Colorado depth, I like Miles Wood, big and fast. Colton is mean. Yakov Trenin can hit. Duhaime is big. I like their depth guys a lot. So
the other thing too is, as Winnipeg found out, that blue line is much more than just Cale Makar.
Devin Taves, Sam Girard, Josh
Taves-
Manson,
Taves.
Walker.
And Manson had a heck of a series.
Yeah.
But that Taves, the moment he left the Islanders,
It's a bad trade.
They got 2
Didn't-
seconds.
didn't
for him,
help.
I think.
Bad trade.
That was a terrible trade.
Yeah,
terrible
Absolutely
trade.
terrible.
You mean 2 second-round picks for Canada's top pairing defenseman was a bad
Oh.
idea?
Yeah, I do mean that.
that was one that got away from Lou.
And also, don't you love? He was who was he sassing off this year on his own team that we got some problems in
Oh,
this room or
yeah.
something like that.
Right.
Like he
There's
was a
some
guy.
guys that
he's
think-
so competitive, right? He's,
Yeah, wasn't it? There's some guys that think they're working hard here and they have no idea what hard work is or
Yeah.
something like that. Like he was.
he's a guy who'll speak up.
Wasn't
and
it
he's competitive.
Lekanen? Wasn't it Lekanen? Was
No,
it? No, not Lekanen.
Lekanen and
His
Lekanen.
dad,
They
like
had
his
like
dad
a
said something.
yeah.
Yeah,
God, we're all
Lekanen's
over the
dad
map.
said something, I think.
They had like a little Finnish dad.
But that
fight.
involved Rantanen at some point.
Yeah, it was. It was Lekanen's dad was a media guy in Finland.
Yes.
And he was like burying Rantanen or something. I don't know.
Yeah, they had a
Yes.
couple weeks in Colorado where they were in the news.
Yeah.
All right, we got a little game time, Sammy, or you want to go to break?
I was just looking at the stars. Like what you said to Turco is great. It made me laugh very hard about like the borderline out of the league and teenager guys.
Yeah,
It's a fascinating
They
roster
got
construction.
Very few mid-20s players.
It's very, very cool. And like,
On off days, I think like the old guys pick up the young guys to take them to the park.
Yeah, it's Duchesne and Sagan and Ben and Pavelski, Suter, old guys with
I'm wondering now, like, if going 7 against Vegas might have, the wear and tear on the older guys.
it helps you in the short term. It doesn't help you in the long
Yes.
term. I do think it helps you getting into
Will it
that next
catch up?
series.
Will it
kind of like
catch up?
kind of like the Bruins.
Yeah, the Bruins
where they came in hot.
rolled over
Yeah.
Florida, feeling you're used to that intensity, and it's much easier to find that level again. I think it's harder when you've been, I don't know, eating grapes for a week or whatever people do when they relax.
Eating grapes.
Isn't that like an old kid eating
yeah.
grapes? Is that
Yeah.
a thing? I don't know.
Yeah, you're kabukied, pal. All right, it's game time. Presented by Bet365. Visit the app's latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. Now, I was just really interested to see what the win for the Boston Bruins did last night in that series. So I went to the series correct score here. The Florida Panthers to win in 7 games is the favorite here now, which is surprising to me because if we had looked at this beforehand, I'm sure that would have been far from the favorite. I'm sure in 5 or 6 would have been probably the favorite. So Florida to win in 7 games is plus 320 now on Bet365. You can get the Bruins to win in 6 at plus 450. You can get go ahead.
Sorry, what's Florida gentleman's sweep?
It's a great
The
question.
loss followed by 4 straight wins.
That's a great question. It is plus 600.
It's not enough for me.
No, but to me, that is definitely one where they got caught a little bit by a hot team coming in. So thought that was interesting to look at. We're going to talk more about Edmonton and Vancouver coming up after this here, but Edmonton to win in 6, as I'm looking here, is the favorite according to Bet365. Edmonton in 6.
Edmonton does come in as the favorite, no question, but I think this one's going to be close.
I think it depends. They're talking about Demko possibly being ready for games like 5, 6, 7 where they needed, which
Well, we'll see where the kid is at.
you're
She loves.
You're gonna find out it's Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl.
So I think
Every once in a while, there could be some magic.
the Preds, I don't think the Oilers defend like the Preds do, but the
probably
Preds don't score like the Oilers
No
do.
one does.
It's a different
Yeah.
animal. So
There were signs from the LA Kings that there were pockets in that series that they could push Edmonton.
yep, for sure.
So I
and-
think Vancouver will push.
And just
think
looking
Vancouver's
at the 2 games tonight, the Carolina Hurricanes are favorites at Madison Square Garden, minus 125. If you're liking the Rangers, great odds. Plus,
the Rangers win the President's Trophy. They win Game 1. They're at home
Yep.
and they're underdog.
plus 105 for the Rangers. So plus money on the Rangers at home
really
in Game 2.
like Carolina.
Yeah, the dorks at Bet365 are like,
I
we
tell
like
you,
them.
dorks love the Canes. They play in the offensive zone. They get a ton of shots.
And for the late game, Colorado is a plus 100 underdog. So just, double your money there. And the Dallas Stars are minus 120. So even matchup there and going to be an excellent series that I cannot wait to watch. That was Game Time, presented by Bet365. Visit the app's latest odds and find out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 19 plus. Ontario only. Please play responsibly.
Okay, let's take a quick break. When we come back, we'll get into some news and notes. We got some sound from Paul Maurice on Jeremy Swayman, Chris Knobloch, head coach of the Edmonton Oilers, and some news out of the LA Kings and Rob Blake. All right, that and more when we return to Real Kyper and Bourne. 2 games on tap tonight. Carolina at the Rangers, 7 o'clock puck drop. Colorado and Dallas. And last night, kind of surprising.
Was. Yes.
Kinda.
Sammy's convinced now that maybe the Leafs aren't so bad.
I don't know. Swayman's a monster.
He is a monster.
He's got that kind of Tim Thomas feel for Boston. What year did they win?
Yeah, great observation.
Yeah,
I love that draw.
That's a good one.
That's Draisaitl, right?
Great observation. Yes, it
Yeah.
is.
Great observation.
Yeah.
He's so confident, like insanely confident, and that helps. Florida, maybe not quite ready to jump back into that playoff pace, but
You got it's almost 9 days, 10 days off.
yeah,
What was
it's,
it?
it's a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot
Also,
of time.
Didn't hurt that Mason Lowry and Brandon Carlo put 2 right off the bottom of the bar.
Lowry's starting to really look like a good defenseman to me.
I think I wrote you guys in our group chat he's going to get lit up cheating or something, and that hasn't happened.
He's carrying the puck like Bobby Orr some shifts.
Yeah.
Whoa.
There's
Just because he's wearing black and gold doesn't mean he's Bobby Orr,
but there
I'm
is
just
some
saying he's standing out to me.
he's going to have to recalibrate this risk reward meter of his. He's very confident too.
Somebody
but
tell him he's Lowry, not Bobby.
He's talented as hell.
But Carlo, I saw that he had a kid in between the 2
Yes.
series.
Yeah.
Yeah, he
And
showed up day of.
And then he goes back in and goes bar down in
On
the game
Bob
1
in
win.
round 2,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
That is.
I mean,
Awesome for you. Yeah.
it's great.
And the other thing
Everything's
too
great.
is like Florida's defense, like uncharacteristic. Bad night. Ekblad, bad night.
A lot of middle of the ice
Right.
for the
Who's the who had the best plus minus all year?
Forsling?
Forsling
Mhm.
by a country mile.
Mhm.
What was he, -3?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
That's not great though.
No. So that's the one benefit of the doubt. But
Do you guys want to hear?
now it's almost like a must win, is it not, for Florida? Second game at home.
Do you want to hear a
Pretty
really
big.
sour Paul Maurice talk about Jeremy Swayman?
Yes.
Okay, let's hear it.
Swayman obviously came into this series feeling good
Yep.
about his game. What's it going to take to maybe disrupt what he's doing out there?
Well, you're not getting a bad goalie, but I hope I pronounced it right. Vasilevsky, he wasn't bad. Good goaltenders here, so it's not if you do it right you get 7. Doesn't work like that. He made some really nice saves. We missed some things around the net.
When
He
you
was quick to respond.
Immediately sour.
yeah, when
Yeah.
you like almost interrupt with a yup.
Yeah.
Halfway through the
Yeah.
first yup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yeah.
pal. No, I mean, it's
Okay,
not-
buddy.
Forsling plus 56.
Plus
Oh my
56.
God.
Plus 56 for the season. Second was DeMello at 46.
DeMello?
Dylan DeMello.
Not
Yeah.
Carl DeMello?
That's pretty good.
All right.
Ekholm plus 44, but like -3. I bet you he didn't have a -3 all year.
Yeah, that's unusual. Ekblad maybe not having a great night probably contributes to that somewhat. So it's going to be a good series. Want to do Canucks Edmonton? Want to go in? Want to pick it apart?
Yes.
Let's talk about how during the regular season, the Vancouver Canucks kind of owned the Oilers.
Yes.
Did they not?
They did. I think they swept them.
Early in the year.
Oh, they won
had a bunch of
8-1 in
games
the
early.
opening game.
Early in the year.
They had
It was like
two.
a shocker.
Yeah.
And then it was like, nah, it's just a one-off.
And then they did it again.
Then they did it again in Edmonton.
And then they threw Jay Woodcroft out of the building immediately after. Let's listen to Chris Knobloch, who had thoughts on the regular season series versus the Canucks.
You know, it's in past, but obviously when the series has been as lopsided as it was, that we need to address some things and change some things. You know, we were swept in this series and outscored pretty badly. So it'd be pretty naive saying that we didn't need to change anything and everything's smoothly and we're just going to play the Vancouver Canucks how we played. So we do have some adjustments that we need to address and try and limit their strengths. But we'll see how we do on that.
I will say that people are going into this, and I think there's a lot of thought that Edmonton's just going to kill Vancouver.
Oh, it's the Harlem Globetrotters versus the Generals.
I don't agree. I think these are divisional matchups, and like these guys, they play each other. They're not going to, they beat them 4 times in a row. I don't really think that means a ton. But like, it's
one team has to slow down the other team,
of course. But
and you do that by
they
making
played each other all the time. These guys know each other. It's a divisional matchup. Like, I think it's going to be a lot closer than people think. I really do.
Oh, I'm with you.
Yeah,
I think the Oilers are going to handle their business pretty.
5?
Yeah.
Really?
That's
I do.
Fast as 5.
I disagree.
Yeah.
I disagree.
Here,
somebody in 7 to me.
Since Nalbach took over, the Oilers are the best team in the NHL. Just so Canucks fans know, I'm not being hard on them. This Oilers team has mopped up everybody since then, essentially. They score goals. Their power play scores goals at like an absolutely absurd rate.
Can't take many penalties. That's
no,
for
you
sure.
can't take many penalties, and Vancouver has to slow Edmonton down. They have to keep the goal totals down. They want to play a slog.
Rope-a-dope.
A rope-a-dope, slow, and they don't have Demko. I know the Shelovs might be great, but they don't have one of the guys that makes them special. Pettersson, since the All-Star break, I think he had 13 points, maybe like a goal and 12 assists or something like that. Yeah. He really struggled, and in the first round looked off.
It's going to take like a Binnington kind of feel that like something special is going on here.
And he missed practice today too,
with Shelovs.
With an illness.
Sick, yeah.
Illness.
So he missed the skate.
Illness is a touchy word around here.
Yeah, he's got an ilnery or an injuredness. We have no idea what it is. But so, then you look at the Oilers who just added players, got better. They had guys. Yeah,
he might not play. I don't think he's going to play. So he's injured too. So
okay.
I just think that it's going to. I'm not just pandering to my beloved Vancouver. I do think this is going to be a series.
And I want to be wrong. I want it to be a series, but listen, I'm an analyst here. I don't see what they're in tough.
They're in tough.
But Knobloch and Paul Coffey have done a nice job of at least settling down that blue line too. And Evan Bouchard, we know he's a very gifted player offensively, but it was challenged in his own zone. He's much more quiet now. He's never going to be a stellar guy, but
who did we have on that questioned him? I forget who it was, but maybe it wasn't even here. Maybe it was a private conversation.
Maybe
I don't remember anything. But I remember
just sewering it off the record.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't give him much credit in his own zone. That's for sure. There's some games I watched earlier in the year. I'm like, did he just let that guy get the puck off of him?
Well, we talk about underrated guys for, like we always talk about who are the classic underrated guys.
Oh, Barkov. You ever heard of him?
Yossi. Yeah. All the classic ones. I actually think Ekholm is underrated as like one of the best guys in the league. Like,
I'm going to go ahead and tell you guys something. I had him 5th on my Norris Trophy ballot this year.
He's unbelievable. Love him.
All these years in Nashville, he was always like the third banana there.
Right. Oh, they had Weber and Subban and Yossi. Yeah. And it was always...
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, if it's one thing that Kenny Holland did...
Nailed it.
It was getting this guy. This guy was the difference.
Yeah.
Outbidding other teams, whatever. He was absolutely the key to saving this season for the Edmonton Oilers, in my opinion.
He's Jake Muzzin, if Jake Muzzin could play. The bearded, zone defending, steady guy that
he's got a presence.
Yeah.
And a leadership presence too. And every time he speaks, you're like, I want to hear that guy.
Here is where the Oilers could go off the rails. And to me, that second pair of Ceci and Nurse is going to make some mistakes. If you're the Canucks have enough offense that they can expose
them down, though.
Yeah,
they have
to keep it pretty simple.
Yes,
I still think it's a risk.
Well, that's where if Vancouver can expose them a little bit,
and then obviously Skinner. Skinner is not by any means Jake Ottinger or whoever else we've talked about as he's Swayman type. He's not in that class. He's good, but it's not like Vancouver's not going to get opportunities. They are, but Hyman had like 60 goals this year. And he's like your 4th or 5th most concerning guy on the Oilers.
Yeah, for sure.
Fogle scores. He's decent. McLeod, Perry, Holloway, Brown. Their depth is pretty good too.
I'm picking Canucks.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
An outright picking.
Yeah, I'm going to pick them.
Like
I
going
think
to
they're going to shock
distance?
the world here. I might even bet on it.
I like that. I like what you're doing.
That'd be a shock.
Yeah.
For
That'd
sure.
be a big shock.
For sure. But that's what we do, baby. Shock value. A shock jock action for you. I'm picking them.
All right. A few in our earlier hour of our show, we spoke of where Sheldon Keefe's future is. Craig Berube, we've mentioned. Some news and notes around. Drew Bannister signs a 2-year contract to remain the Blues head coach. Went 30-19-5 after replacing Berube. Early for you. I mean, there's still some moving parts. We saw Ottawa tie up Travis Green. Is this Doug Armstrong looking around going, I can't do anything better than Drew Bannister? Let's sign him right now.
You know, I do think there's a thing where we fall in love with name coaches, and I don't know that they're necessarily better than someone who just coaches the system and does a good job and isn't necessarily a celebrity to go along with it. So maybe Drew Bannister is that. Maybe he's a great coach. It feels cheap, right? When it's a guy you haven't heard of and they're like, didn't they want to get one of the guys, the bigger names? But I don't, we just recycle the same coaches so often. If they like the guy, then go ahead with the guy who had some success with your team.
Yeah, I think if you fire a guy midseason like they did with Berube, and then you have a guy that's been in your, like, how, I think he was the coach of their AHL team for a few years, wasn't he? I want to say,
so.
because, yeah, like Springfield, that's their team. So he was what it is.
Put me on. What's their East Coast League team?
Don't know, but
Yeah.
I know what their AHL team is for some reason. But I think it's an easier sell when he was there for half the season. They had good success, and the guys might like him, and it's just an easy
The one thing I hate about that, I always hate the hire the guy who was on the bench. Because if he had any new ideas,
Yeah, he's
could he
holding
not
out.
have saved them or shared them with the head coach?
No,
Like-
because he needed him fired.
Well, that's it. It's like if you had solutions, what were you doing before? So I've never liked the just hire the guy who's already on the bench move personally, but
Blues are a weird. You look at that cap-friendly page, and you're just like, I don't know what the direction. If I'm Treliving,
they look
I'm
stuck in the middle to me.
If I'm Treliving, I'm picking up the phone about Parayko again this offseason, for sure.
And they get him a bacchiotomy too.
No, he's not that. He's okay.
Worry about his back.
Other news around the league when it comes to coaches and managerial jobs. We heard from Rob Blake. There was some noise out there that maybe the heat was on Rob Blake, whether or not he deserves to come back or not.
Mm-hmm.
He's back. And
Not going to buy it.
it's a big market. LA is a big market from a revenue, I think, driven point of view for the league, but it's not that big of a market for the coverage there. And whoever is covering them out there, a lot of them are scratching their heads that either Rob Blake coming back or this talk about buying out Pierre-Luc Dubois,
And
which
what is that
had to be
contract?
brought to attention here because how do you sign up? I don't know, what was it, $60 million contract?
Yeah.
And then bail on it in 12 months? Like, who does that?
8.5 times 7? Is that right?
Who does that?
I hope no one. I mean, I can't believe, like, I was going through sportsnet.ca looking for stuff, like, to talk about news and notes. And I saw that as a headline. I'm like, how is this a conversation?
Yeah.
It's like that. He had to clarify that. He had such a bad season that, how old is he? Like 28?
Dubois is.
And it was 68, I think.
25.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
Dubois is 25.
So
Feels
it's like
he's
he's
been
in
on
the
10 teams
It's
already.
in the prime of his career, and he just signed a 1 year, 8-year
6'3",
deal.
68 million.
Crazy.
2 years ago, he had 60 points, then 63, almost 30 goals in both seasons. Boy, what a tough.
Just move on.
I mean, they were a good team. He's -9. He gets 16 goals in 82 games this year.
For 8.5 schmel?
That's not what you sign up for.
No.
Jim Hiller came in and finished the season there. I get the sense that he might be in that similar situation as Sheldon in Toronto, where it's like, we'll get back to you.
Mm-hmm.
It might be pointing in the direction that he could be back as a permanent guy. But someone mentioned to me that they might be inquiring on Craig Berube.
Another option for
So
Chief.
there's Jersey out there that's looking for a coach. There's possibly LA sniffing. There's the Leafs sniffing.
It's going to be a bunch of
It's a
teams.
good time to be Craig Berube, I can tell you.
Yeah, it's going to be rich.
I remember this was the Babs fiasco when it was, he was seen in Buffalo and the whole thing. We're doing that for Berube, are we?
That's not Craig Berube's style.
No,
I can
I know.
assure you.
Yeah.
Babcock would have loved that.
Well, I mean, I'm going
Yes.
to tell you the difference in the ego between the two guys, having spoken to both of them.
Well, I was reminded here in Luke Fox today talk about how Babs left and said Mike Babcock's always going to bet on Mike Babcock.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's funny, just like from a producer standpoint, when we booked Craig Berube on the show and he was the head coach of the Blues, I got in touch with like the PR guy and they're like, oh, yeah, why are you telling me? Here's his number.
Text him.
Like, okay, it's like that. As soon as I said, I was like, okay, that's rare.
Yeah.
And I texted him, he's like, yeah, sure. Okay.
Didn't Jim Montgomery, after Game 7, defeating the Leafs, mention that he got a call from Babs?
He did. So I had this conversation. I did Calgary
and
radio
Coop.
this morning.
And Coop.
And my point was, like, what could that call possibly have consisted of?
I don't know.
Like, it's not like some tactical, like, switch a system.
Hey, go get him.
Well, what do you think he said? Like,
Started good tonight.
Whose phone did he steal to get the number?
Oh. I think he would have, big time Babcock impression coming up here. They'll beat themselves. You just gotta start on time. They'll beat themselves.
That's
Started good tonight.
Started good.
That's what it would consist of.
Those guys are chokers. They'll beat themselves. I was right about everything. Hangs up. He was right. That's the problem.
Minus the phones thing.
Yeah, the phone thing's bad.
He's wrong about that.
Very wrong.
I got to think he still wants in.
Who?
Babs.
To where?
The league.
You know what?
Oh, my God,
Columbus
you're
was
nuts.
the perfect fit for him. It was perfect.
You're nuts.
You don't think he wants to coach anymore? That's what I'm saying. He wants in.
You can't. You would never.
I want to be a
back in.
member at St. George's, pal, but it's not going to happen.
Purely
Could.
based on finances.
You're
though,
Sammy
Sam. You'll-
McKee from the Real
young.
Kyper and Bourne show.
You'll
sure.
get famous enough.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'll be at Lakeview, pal, till I'm 50.
That's kind of quiet, too. Columbus is kind of quiet.
Yeah, that's 2 days in a row mentioned Columbus. We can't do it. It's playoffs.
Yeah, we can.
No.
They exist. They're real. They're a franchise, apparently. Well, tonight they could get the number 1 overall pick, and all of a sudden we'll have to follow them because Macklin Celebrini will be dishing it or getting it from Goodrow because Lord knows Goodrow doesn't shoot it.
That's right. NHL draft tonight.
So who's your pick for who's getting first? Your pick.
I'd like to see it go to Chicago.
Wow.
I would. Because San Jose, I'll be honest, guys, I just, that team's not going to be good for 6 years.
Yeah.
They're so bad. So bad.
I know, but they got to start somewhere, and the league's got to bring them back to, like,
being a team.
yeah, being an
I don't
actual
want to have
NHL
to
team.
watch that as all. At least if he's on Chicago, I also get to
You're
watch
in bed by
Bedard.
10 p.m. You're not watching them.
No, you're right.
Is
It's another
there-
reason for him to be in Chicago.
Is there some connection with the Sharks? Like his dad was involved with the Sharks?
His
or
dad
like
worked
this?
for Golden State.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
So it's like the Bay Area or whatever. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Loose tie. of some variety.
David Sisboomba buzzed in my ear and said that he grew up and played minor hockey there.
Oh,
So
really?
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Maybe he wants to go to the Sharks.
I think it's going to be Salt Lake City that gets it. I think they're going to rig it and get Salt Lake a first overall pick for their sexy new owner.
$1.2 billion. Here's Macklin Celebrini. Start selling some sweaters.
Yeah.
Ooh, boy. If they get Celebrini, Utah's not in a position to make any money on it. They don't have
No
a kit.
jerseys.
Oh, you got to get a jersey. Yeah, you're right.
They got to have something ready for tonight.
What are they
Ryan,
gonna
you
do
listening?
tonight?
Ryan Smith?
What are they going to do tonight?
You get a logo by 8 p.m.
Do
tonight.
they got a soccer team there? What are they? Jazz. You can get it on Jazz
Jazz
jersey.
jerseys. They're nice, Jazz jerseys.
They're jerseys.
Yeah.
Sleeveless hockey shirt.
Well, that was out the rails, boys.
Real
All right. Our thanks to Luke Fox from Sportsnet.ca and Marty Turco helped us tee up Dallas and Colorado. 2 games on tap. Rangers and Carolina start in about a little over an hour. Enjoy your game tonight. We're back tomorrow on Real Kyper and Bourne.
1 hour, 5 to 6 tomorrow.
That's a producer for you. Good job, Sammy. Have a great night, everybody.